to acknowledge everybody's schedules. I'm just gonna get us started here. So we're gonna do a few things different than what we have been doing in preparation to how we will move forward with these meetings. We're gonna do roll call. We're gonna limit it to the folks that are, you know, the deciding body, essentially, this desk area. Also, we'll have a movement in our agenda. We're going to move a couple things around. We have a board member who's attending virtually, who's also at another meeting. So in order to accommodate his schedule and create quorum, we need to move some things around. So we're going to move public comments to right before the director's report. That will move up Reinstitute. They are here online to give us a presentation. And then I was also just going to share that public comments will be timed. We will do 3 minutes. Historically, we've allowed some interaction with this generally within the space, but we're going to move away from that model so that we can protect everyone's schedules a little better. We do have people who are here just on a short break from their day jobs. So that being said, we want to start roll call.
Jessica Engelke here, City of North Bend.
Angel Brainerd, Director of Homeless Response Office.
Nicole Rutherford, City of Coos Bay. All right, since we don't have any.
And then nobody online from the board.
There is nobody online. David Gills will be later.
I'm here
Oh,
now.
There he is. Oh, he is. Hello. So what is your time frame? Because we were trying to move things to accommodate your schedule. I was thinking you were here at 2.
I have until 2.
Until 2. Oops, see if I can mind your business. Okay, so we're gonna reconsider this then. We're just gonna move AYA's presentation because that's the element that we need Mr. Gales here for. So we'll move AYA up first and
Perfect timing too.
Yeah.
That's a farmer's this was.
and now we've got forum. So
Perfect.
Scott,
You're presenting this.
or Eric, if I don't know what you guys have talked about.
So, I'm not sure how much representation you need. Scott has presented the
Yes.
fundamentals of this project to this group before. What we would really like is, I would like to say that we are confident that Scott's project meets the requirements of eligible expenses for HB 5019 funds. And we would like a motion to approve his drawing funds from that grant to start the rehousing numbers that we need for that grant.
Okay, thank you. I guess I would open up the floor to questions. Any of us who had questions, you're right, we did already hear this presentation, and I appreciate you attending before, Scott. So if there's questions, if there's any clarity needed around this, it's my understanding that we had a general idea that this was a fundable project under 5019, and we may have suggested, if not individuals, the group as a whole, that this could potentially meet that funding. And I think there's been some work already done to meet some numbers for us. So I just add that. If there are questions, anybody had any questions for him?
Just to clarify in here as well, you verified with OHCS at that conference we were at 2 days ago that this works for them,
Yes.
right?
Yes, and it is not OHCS's job to approve projects, that is our job.
Yep.
But we have talked with both Liz and Emily from OHCS extensively,
Yep.
and they have said that this is qualifying expenses.
And that would be my question for our chair, and then the rest of the executive committee might have done a deeper dive into is it meeting all the requirements? Was there a list, was there like a pros and cons or a list of concerns or anything else that was the executive committee in consensus that this is something that they wanted to move forward with?
I would say, and David, you can speak to this too, but I would say, yes, we are consensus with this project. There has been questions around whether or not this project also fits with the SPA funding and whether or not we should think about which way we should go. I would recommend, acknowledging that to be the case, I would still recommend, because we know there's been work done already and the SPA funding does not come for potentially a few more months, that we get this going so we get some kids. I mean, that's what we're talking about is kids in houses right now. So
Mhm.
and that was Liz from OHCS's advice as well. These are the numbers that we need to be posting right now because we are behind.
Mhm. And like today, what you want this body to decide is that the motion is to approve the initial and monthly draws from HB 5019 for the rapid rehousing project,
Yes.
right? That is it. And so, Mr. Gills, did you have any questions or concerns about this and feel like it meets all the needs?
I was gonna ask if AYA would mind giving us a brief summary, also just for us as a whole, so that we can make sure it's been a little while since I was, since I recall all the details, but I would appreciate just a brief overview, just to confirm my understanding of what the project is.
Okay, so the project is to identify the proper clients, make sure that we are doing VSPDATs. After that, we put them into case management. From there, we contact the homeless response team. They verify that they're in HMIS. Next part, I'm sorry, yeah, I did say that right.
HMIS,
I'm sorry,
What does it stand
acronym soup.
Homeless Information Management System.
Yeah.
Okay,
The federal program that verifies it. Next, we have to have block leases. A lot of our clients cannot get leases. From there, AYA subleases back down to them. We have started this work. We have your numbers for your first quarter, and I believe we have your numbers for your second quarter as well. There's been a lot of conversation back and forth. I think we have a pretty good system moving in place that should be a template for other people to move forward. Question, David?
Yeah, so Scott, I understand the need for block, some kind of way to get the properties rented. So you guys are gonna be acting as sort of the intermediary in these situations to try to create some capacity, correct?
Yes, can I put that in the vernacular? And you're saying that my board are foolish enough to actually put their names on leases for the. Yeah, no, this was a decision we had at the board level, and we just thought it was what was needed to be done for the community. It's too much of an opportunity for our clients not to. We have 400 homeless under the McKinney-Vento standards just in youth. The second funding isn't coming out for a while, and we just started doing the work.
No, I definitely appreciate your organization's forward thinking on this and recognition that our goals really can marry up here in a way that's going to be positive for both organizations. And can you tell me a little bit too, just to remind me about I know we have numbers we need to achieve in terms of the rehousing. What do you anticipate you all will be able to get in terms of those concrete numbers that we need to try to meet?
So we have the lease agreements and everything, paperwork in place for the first quarter, which just ended. We are at least halfway through on the next quarter. At that point, I'm hoping to allow other agencies to put because we're gonna have this file funding come out and we're gonna have this conversation again. Really, this is a template for what should be able to be done by the organizations moving forward. So we're the test pilot, alpha stage,
can you remind me what SPA stands for?
special.
It's actually not called that
Yeah,
anymore.
they changed the name. It's Oregon Rehousing Initiative,
Oregon
Oregon,
Rehousing
and
Initiative.
that's 5506.
And there was a meeting last night on that one. Is that official now?
It is, and although I have not spent any time at my desk, so yes, I need to connect with OHCS and say yes, that Kuzbe will take lead.
And this was the funding that came out of this last legislative session, right? I think a total of, was it 30 million or 29 million total for the state?
Yeah, I don't know that full total, I just know roughly what it's
A
coming
little bit
here.
under 900,000 coming into Coos County for
Yeah.
these missions.
And so if I hear correctly, we really feel like this will help us meet our goals of, remind me, is it 34 rehousing slots we need to have?
It's 32 under 5019. And 5 in first quarter and second quarter. I think it's 5 every quarter.
No, I think it sounds fantastic. And I certainly, looking forward to the partnership here to continue to try to make a dent in our housing crisis.
Yeah, with me?
I have a few more questions. Okay, so the budget implications here, you've got like the total draw for March expenses, the 20,750. And, again, like the motion is to approve the initial monthly draw funding for rapid rehousing. So what's the total financial commitment from this group?
Right now, that is what we have documented, that is allowable under the grant. Each month it's gonna change, maybe a client leaves, maybe we add more clients on. So the job of the homeless response team is to verify whatever data we get in. The 20,000, whatever that we have right there.
Yeah, I see like the
verify.
21,000, like April lease summary says 21,000. And so these are monthly withdrawals.
Yeah, and it will change every month depending on the documentation that goes with it.
So then do we have a cap, like, are we setting aside saying, okay, like this is like, we can do this for 12 months, like what is this group's budgetary commitment? Because it can't go on indefinitely.
Agreed.
We have until June 2025 to spend the HB 5019 funds.
So is this group saying we're paying the monthly expenses? Like, it's not clear to me what the total ask is.
Well, that's because the total ask is not clear, because we're still adding units.
Yeah,
And every time we add a unit, we've got the security deposit, first month's rent, last month's rent, any renovations that need to be made. And those are all numbers that we don't know for sure.
right.
So we add a unit, we do have some initial expenses, and then we get someone into it, and then we have the monthly lease expense.
Yeah.
And so it is gonna have variability.
So is there a way for this group to have, because I think this is fantastic and I'm very supportive of it. I just want to make sure that we have like our long-term plan. So like for round numbers, let's just say, is it approximately $20,000 a month for the next, 24 months? Like, how do we have that like
So-
really secured up?
If things go well,
Mhm,
this is my opinion, you will see it go up every month because we're adding more and more people to it.
mhm.
But the second grant, the city council did quick numbers. You're looking at about $2,000 a month. That's half the amount of money. You've got almost $4,000 a month per person. It won't take that much money, but you're gonna have some people fall off and on. Your fear of overspending, I think, should be in the other direction. Are we gonna be able to spend it out? I know that we're gonna do the exact same amount of work at half the price on the youth side when we get the next funding. That one's $880,000. You got $1.8 million right now on this one. And when we calculated it out, that 32 people using the amount of money, it was $2,000 a month. That's what they calculated out, meaning that you really have $4,000 a month on this side. Now, of course, it's gonna change based on renovations, the amounts of other things, and we're using a HUD sliding scale. We did an intake on one today. That person only needs first and last, and they will be able to afford the rent themselves. That's what we're looking for. That's why we can't get a clear number. Each client has to be looked at individually.
Mhm.
Some might have to have all the rent paid, but the goal is to get them into a job.
Yeah.
And then he sustains it even when this funding stream runs out. To me, that's the ultimate job is, I don't think, in my opinion, you don't have to worry about spending all the money. I don't think we're gonna be able to spend all the money.
And I know, like, your finance and David Gills, this is like a little bit more of like your world. This is not the day-to-day world that I live in. I just wonder if there's how do we frame that in the motion? Like, how do we capture that, say, like, this is not a faucet full of money that would just go on indefinitely? And do we need to change up like the way that this action item is or this motion is, or is that something that is done? Is the motion to have for the board to authorize our chair to work with you on securing up, I don't even know if you call them like contracts of like what that looks like. So like, it's really clear. I just want to make sure that the homeless advisory committee isn't, on the hook for, $4,000 a month, like indefinitely, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And maybe are these,
No, that's fair. I
Okay.
think, I mean, I can see both sides of this, like, we have to have some sort of dollars.
Maximum
or
amount
something
allowed.
attached to this, while at the same time understanding that there will be movement of these, you know, kids, adults, they're right in this age of whether or not they should be classified either way, but will come in and out, they will have jobs, some not, so is there a, you know, not to exceed monthly amount that
We
you
Might look at, I know Eric, I'm sorry, you've got something to add.
Well, I mean, if this is very successful, that's a really good thing.
Right.
Maybe what we could say is to be reviewed by the board in 6 months. And extend it.
That's pretty much what I was gonna say,
Mhm.
because you're pulling it off for 2,000 a person because you're braiding funding. And usually, once a funder sees that, this program is excelling, they become a little more, lenient with how much money they'll award. So with the knowledge that this funding will stop. So a review in 6 months, a review I mean, just a quarterly update with an overall review in 12 months, something along those lines, whatever folks are comfortable with. That
Well,
would probably
and to
be
be
the way
clear
go.
too, it's only 13 months that we have left in the grant.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
for 2
that's true.
months, so, and, David Fields, do you understand what I'm saying here? Is there, like, this body, what we're authorizing today, is there a better way to frame that in the motion?
I completely understand what you're saying there. I think, you know, as a board member, we need to understand what we're approving and making sure that there's some kind of not to exceed or cap. Now, you know, if we've got 13 months to spend the money and you know, we could potentially use that, whatever that amount is, as the not to exceed amount. I mean, I think you're right. We need to have something in place that helps direct how much we're approving. That's capped at what our amount is that would be appropriate.
So if we got an update in 6 months, Scott will probably need a lead time of a couple of quarters to secure the next round of funding from wherever you're gonna get it, you think?
Yeah, I believe I should be here and giving you updates
I mean,
every month.
every month, yeah.
Yeah, I have no problem with that one, and at least give some qualifying stories about how the changes that we're making there.
So maybe we propose review again in 6 months?
Yeah, to give you an idea, if we divided the amount of money that you have by 32 clients, it would be $56,000 per client.
For an annual support,
For an annual. Yeah,
and that's
divide that by 12,
housing and.
and you've got $4,600 a month. I don't see that happening. Particularly because we really want them to make sure that they're still housed at the end of this grant. So we're not taking the highest, I'll use the word VSPDAT. Everybody know what VSPDAT is?
No.
It's the federal system which it ranks the high needs.
Mhm.
And I've seen other communities, Salem in particular, that try to take the very high need clients. And some of Chris's friends out there in front of the Nancy Devereaux Center and get them into housing. We are trying to get the ones that just need a little bit of help to get them stable, to move them forward, to make sure that they're still housed a year later. So I don't see extending that amount of money. But, you know, we can always have, the grant calls for 32. I don't think they're gonna argue if we happen to get 52.
Mhm.
If you were able to find 52 housing slots.
Right.
That's the bigger picture.
So, Madam Chair, if this body today makes the motion to approve the initial monthly draw for the House Bill 5019, then what are the next steps?
So what I understand is these folks will work on what that looks like as far as putting together the draw amounts, the reporting pieces. 5019 falls under North Bend's fiscal agency, so that's gonna come to you. What is your spending authority in your city to, you know, does that need to come before your council for spending authority? I mean, in Coos Bay, ours would accommodate a $25,000 spending authority without council, you know, direction, so. Yeah,
So-
If I may,
Yeah.
in a previous meeting, David Milliron said that he would connect us with the finance department for North
Okay.
Bend to handle the draws.
Yeah.
Mhm. So does anybody want to take a stab at like I see that we have a suggested kind of action requested here with that suggested motion. Is there a way to fit some of these things in that we're talking about? Like, again, we're making the motion to approve the monthly draw, but I think it has to be, other things need to be in that motion about to work with, either the executive team on to finalizing the contracts and working with the finance or the fiscal agents too. I think we need a broader.
I agree. I wonder if there's a max monthly draw that we think would be okay to include. That way that we would approve up to a certain amount per month. Obviously, if it was more than that, it could come back to the board for additional approval. But I don't know if there's an amount that we know that would be a monthly amount that would certainly, likely we're not gonna go above that anyway, but at least it would cap it at some amount. That's what I would like to see, is something where there's something concrete dollar wise that we're approving.
And at 4,000, we think.
I mean, we already know that there's a couple months that are in excess of that getting this started, so that.
So we have
would
a
be
total draw of 20,000 some for March, 21,000 for April. So a maximum monthly draw hopefully would cushion that just a little bit for us.
Is there a potential to make a motion to approve the initial draw with the caveats that the homeless response office work with AYA and the executive team to come up with a finalized budget and then come before the board for
Yeah, I like
Because I
that. I
think
like
this
that.
is gonna flow some depending on how many new leases and what those security deposits are. It is gonna be a little hard to throw.
Right, and each month it should go up as long as we continue adding buildings, because then we'll have new buildings, new leases and renovation costs, plus all the existing monthly leases.
One of the challenges of a pilot, there is no established baseline yet.
But we could have potential maxes.
Oh, yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
That would, yeah. So how did you say that? Yeah.
motion to approve the initial draws for the HB 45019 funds. With the caveats that the homeless response office, executive board and AYA will, I've already forgotten it,
Yeah.
will finalize a budget.
And fiscal agents
Yes, and then maybe revisit in 6 months.
or 4 months. Is
Yeah,
4 months
yeah,
too soon?
or something like
Is
that.
4 months too soon?
I mean, what about quarterly?
I can be here every month.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think
Quarterly
reports
would
out
probably
every
be
month
good.
is appropriate.
I mean, I think it's good to have a check-in every month, but even just quarterly looking at, does that
Are we getting
accommodate
benchmarks?
that still?
Monthly update, quarterly review. Maybe that.
Mr. Gill, are you comfortable with that type of a motion? Does that bring clarity?
I do, maybe with the caveat not to exceed the total amount of the funding in that grant.
That makes sense.
Did you get all that written down?
No,
I'm surprised.
I'm watching you go.
You're right.
Yeah, yeah.
Next time we'll.
Should I take a stab at it? Okay. So I think what it sounds like what we're all like leaning towards here is then to to make a motion. Make a motion for the executive committee to work with the homeless advisory group to, writing this down, to begin the initial and monthly draws from HB 5019 with the caveats that they are meeting and to iron out the final contracts with the AYA and the homeless response team and fiscal agents. not to exceed the total amount of the grant.
Award
Award, and to provide quarterly monthly reports.
Yes,
Did you get that motion?
yes.
Is there a second?
Monthly reports with quarterly reviews.
A monthly reports with quarterly reviews.
Sounds
Yeah.
good. I think we
All right.
got her.
Hopefully you're able to hear all that online.
I'll
I think
second it.
so. I might just say that it might make sense to separate it out so that we make a motion to approve the initial outlay of funding based on submitted invoices. And then the plan moving forward that the homeless response group and executive team will work on to develop an ongoing budget for the next year period or whatever timeframe.
Very well said.
We could amend that motion and go with yours, so.
So the
With
first would
also
be-
the addition of the monthly reporting and quarterly review.
Yeah,
And not to exceed the funds.
Yeah. Actually, will you reread, is there a way to, did you capture that? Can you reread what Mr. Gill's motion was and I'll second?
No, because I didn't get it all.
Okay.
written. I'm so sorry.
David, could you say that again?
Just the first motion, probably.
the motion would be to go ahead, that we go ahead and approve the initial outlay of funds based on the submitted invoices.
Okay, second that.
And
Okay,
then the other part is to go ahead and charge the homeless response group and the executive group to develop an ongoing budget for the program within the allotted grant amounts.
what's it
And
do?
we'll do that as the second motion, I
Okay.
think.
So on your the first motion,
Initial
I heard
outlay.
Drew second,
Yes.
any
Yep.
discussion on that?
Any discussion?
Right for me.
You're the chair, so.
Yeah, thank you. No, okay. All right, so then I'll call for the question. All those in favor?
Discussion in the room or no?
There, you were a little late to the meeting, so we actually moved public comments to the end because we only have David Gills for a short time this morning. And also I discussed the format of these meetings to acknowledge that many people are here on a short window of time. So we are going to not have the rapport that we have had up till now. On my part, not doing a great job managing the meetings. So acknowledge everybody who's come to these meetings, and I have had them extend beyond maybe what your intentions were in showing up, so.
5, 10
Got
seconds.
a motion in a second.
Second?
Yep.
Oh, we had a second, yeah.
Yeah, so called for the questions. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes.
All right, so then there was a second piece, right? The second motion, right?
Yes.
Yeah, David, could you repeat that second one? I'm sorry for the third time.
Well, the second one, I think, was pretty much what the mayor had already addressed, which was that I make a motion that the homeless response office and the executive team work to develop an ongoing budget with AYA for the period of the grant, not to exceed the grant amounts, to include monthly reports and quarterly updates.
Okay, we have a motion. Need a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I will call for the question. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed.
All right.
Thank you all. Are you guys done with me?
The last piece that I wanted, which it was just a discussion around our meeting times. We discussed that at the last meeting, but we didn't have enough folks to make that decision. So what we understand is Mr. Gills is obligated for another meeting at this time frame for at least the next year, if not longer. So we were gonna ask that we move this, and I can't remember if we landed at 2:30 or 3.
Was 2:30 an option?
My other meeting runs from 1 to 3. So
Okay.
I could make it at 3 since you guys are like 2 minutes away from my offices, but I would not be able to do 2:30.
Okay, so, I mean, we don't have everyone here, but moving forward, 3 o'clock is what's on the table to move this time to.
Works for me.
Okay, so I don't know if it necessarily takes
Just administrative.
Okay. All right, perfect.
I'll send out the updated calendar invites once we're done with this meeting.
Appreciate
Okay,
it.
great, thank you.
Thanks for being accommodating, you all, appreciate it.
Thank you,
Yeah,
David.
thank you. All right, so I appreciate Reinstitute is here, I believe. No, I don't see them there.
We're here.
You're here, okay, good. So thank you for accommodating the quorum issue, and we are excited to hear from you.
Excellent. Well, we're very happy to be here. Thank you for allowing us to share a little bit about our organization, as well as how we hope to be able to support you all in your efforts around housing and homelessness. Just do some quick introductions. My name is Sean Witten. I am the CEO of Reinstitute. My pronouns are he, him. I am a person with lived experience of homelessness in 2009, which has led me to on the path that I'm on currently here at this organization. And I'm here with my colleague.
Thank you, Sean. My name is Cosmos Cranston. I'm a catalyst with Reinstitute, so I work directly with communities. I'm relatively new to the organization, but I come from direct service of over a decade of working primarily with youth and young adults, but not exclusively. And my pronouns are they, them, theirs.
And so what we were hoping to do today, we had a wonderful conversation with the folks over at Homeless Response Office and really digging into the work that we do and what that looks like. So I do want us, we have a presentation. We will pull that up. We won't spend a lot of time there. What we'd really love to do is spend the majority of time after we've shared a bit about who we are, opening up for discussion and questions around what you all are currently doing. It was actually exciting to be on the first half of this to hear a bit about a program that's getting up and underway and as it relates to youth and rapid rehousing and the thinking around the efforts to get young people into housing. And that's that sort of situation and that sort of scenario is where we can provide a lot of help and support. And so we'll share that with you. I do want to start off by saying any support that we offer your community through our methodology has already been funded by OHCS, but this is a community-driven effort. So if you choose to work with us, we're providing an opportunity for your providers and organizations in your community and the folks on the front lines and with lived experience to come together. And then we facilitate them through a process to help them come up with innovations and solutions to get more folks housed over the time that we're working together. So I just wanted to throw that out in terms of budgetary issues. This has already been paid for. All right, I will go ahead and share my screen. Make sure I can. Excellent. All right, are folks able to see the slideshow? Awesome. So as I mentioned, we are Reinstitute, formerly Rapid Results Institute. We've been working in the housing and homelessness sector since about 2015, but what our organization is about is systems transformation. We support communities to think differently about their system using the voice of the folks on the front lines and with lived experience in that process. What we bring to the table is a container for collaboration, innovation, and execution to get more folks housed, but not just to help the community get more people housed, but to help the community come up with challenges within the systems and then innovations to solve for them to help them continue a higher engagement of housing and a higher level of housing placements. One interesting component of the work that we do as TA providers is when we think of the housing and homelessness system, it expands beyond people who are providing housing services. What we do is we bring to the table folks that may be engaged with those experiencing homelessness to be a part of the solution. So this could be the education system, clinics and hospitals, the justice system when it would not do more harm to the folks that are experiencing homelessness. So if we're working on youth homelessness, let's say, and there's already a youth homelessness active group at the local, in the local justice system, we bring them into the table to be able to help come up with solutions to be able to support folks that are experiencing homelessness. but it's a cross-organizational, cross-system engagement in their efforts to create a system that does a better job of supporting folks as they transition into housing. We've done this work since 2015 with 109 communities throughout the country, helping them house over 38,000 people during what we call the 100-day challenge, which I will explain a little bit more. And we've seen countless innovations and locally led solutions and best practices that have been adopted by other communities come out of this work. The biggest shift is that we see systems change in communities for the better and challenges acknowledged. So that way we can help these communities think about policy shifts. We can help them think about resource flows. We help them think about mindsets and behaviors and relationships that at times can hinder the progress of transforming a system. So tell you a little bit about what that engagement would look like for your community. The first 2 to 3 months would be us working with the community around helping them determine how they're collecting their data, what that data looks like, having conversations, which we call discovery calls with leaders in the community organizations, as well as folks on the front line and with lived experience to get their perspective of the challenges that are being faced in the system, as well as what's going well. We then work with the leaders, who we call system leaders, at an event to have them think through, what should we be focused on? What is the demographic we want to focus on? Do we want to focus around a specific executive order? Do we want to focus around specific funding? And then we ask those leaders to provide permission for folks from their organizations on the front lines to participate in the 100-day challenge. We then bring them to a launch workshop where they set a very ambitious goal and create a work plan, and then we facilitate them throughout that process to achieve that goal. We then come back at day 50 to take a look at what progress looks like, and to review and reassess their work plan. And then at the end of the 100 days, we have our sustainability workshop where we celebrate success, take a look at the innovations that have come out of it, and then begin to make recommendations to leaders about what the challenges were and where they would need support in shifting those policies, resource flows, and other things. And then we work with the community to help institute those shifts for 3 months after that challenge. Real quick overview. These are the groups that are involved. We have the system leaders, which I just spoke about, who help support and remove roadblocks for the team. We have the team of 18 to 14 frontline folks who will create that goal and work plan. They'll collaborate, innovate, and execute. And then what will come out of that are performance insights, experience, as well as system shifts that need to happen. And then at the What's Next workshop, we determine which of those things we want to move forward and concretize in the community around shifts. So that was a lot of words. So I'm going to pause there before we talk about our current engagement, and Cosmos will tell you more about that. But I'd like to pause there just for that general overview to answer any questions and provide any additional information and thoughts.
Hi, this is Nicole. I am the chair for the advisory board. I guess my first question would be like how you see this overlaying with the work already that's kind of happening. Some of this is similar, it feels like, as far as what our homeless response team is doing in that coordination, bringing service providers, those kinds of things together. How do you see that kind of overlaying?
Yeah, so we wouldn't add anything additional. What we would do is bring the methodology and the process to that existing group to help them streamline their efforts to determine what that goal will actually be, and then to implement and work that work plan in a different way that allows people on the front lines and folks with lived experience to be kind of spearheading that movement forward, and then continuing to work with those same leaders. So we never want to like disrupt any of the work that's already going on around strategy or with the executive orders. What we would do is just come in that first 2 to 3 months, do an assessment of what all of that looks like, and then help them create a more streamlined approach to outcomes.
And Madam
With
Chair,
this.
board, they've also received our strategic plan to look
That
at
was
our
gonna be my next
focus.
question,
So
yeah.
they're completely in the loop of what's going on and moving forward.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any other questions?
No?
Uh,
I do.
Yeah, please.
I guess the other thing I would question is like, what is next steps? What is the, if this is something we think is beneficial, that the teams, sees benefit in kind of connecting, what does that look like for next steps?
Yeah, if you all feel that way, what we would need to do then is we'd go through the strategic plan in more detail, and then we begin having conversations with providers in the county to get them on board. We need a coalition of the willing, right? This will only work if those providers want to engage in this process. So we would then have conversations with them. And then we would do our data analysis and begin that process. It can happen as quickly as the community moves. But we would begin those conversations and then determine who those system leaders are based on the organization participation. But as was mentioned before, and I appreciate that, a real thorough assessment of the existing strategic plan. And then what we would want to do is have another conversation with you all about what you think would be the best focus of what's happening. And then we would begin those calls. So I don't want you all to feel that we would just step away from you all, but we'd really want to have a conversation with you and lay out what it is we're thinking about doing ahead of time.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. There was just, and then we had one more piece. I'm going to turn it over to Cosmos, but we're currently working with 3 Oregon communities now. We are past the halfway point, and we thought we'd just share a little bit about what's coming out of those engagements to help you all kind of get an idea of what this could potentially look like. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again for you, Cosmos.
Fantastic.
All right.
Perfect. So we wanted to share with you some of the goals for the current Oregon communities. Right now, we're working with 3 communities, Lincoln County, Curry County, and the city of Lebanon. And really part of the foundation of the 100-day challenge is an ambitious goal that you cannot meet by continuing to do things the way that you're doing now. And I would say that all of the goals that these communities came up with aligned with their strategic plans or things that they were working on. So in Lincoln County, it was in 100 days, we will connect 200 people experiencing homelessness to safe and stable housing with a special emphasis on adults aged 55 plus with co-occurring disabilities, non-English speakers, unaccompanied youth aged 15 to 24, and those identifying as LGBTQ plus. They chose to define connection to safe and stable housing as permanent, transitional, subsidized, interim reunification, or emergency. And that had to do with the incredibly low vacancy rate they had there, is also with trying to get community-wide data for their housing programs and their shelter programs because it didn't exist in a centralized hub. For Curry County, it was in 100 days, we will connect 10 people to safe and stable housing and connect 50 new people to a pathway to housing. 20% of those people will be from the winter warming shelter. They defined pathway as active case management with weekly check-in. The city of Lebanon had in 100 days, we will help attain or retain housing for 15 individuals over the age of 50, as well as connect 30 individuals with behavioral health needs to services and support. Next slide. So as of day 50, their progress towards their goal, and I'm going to go into a little more depth on a few of these. Lincoln County held listening sessions for those prioritized subpopulations and used what came out of those listening sessions to come up with action steps to shift their system to work better for those folks. They also are working on a centralized data hub for community housing data, and they have 75 people by day 50. They also did a push. One of their work streams is a push for Unite Us with the referral platform, also to have community data. And they really did want to engage their providers that were not at the table through using those listening sessions. Curry County developed and piloted a referral packet and enabling robust data collection from all providers and standardized the referral practice across the county. They achieved a 338% increase over their baseline housing rate by day 50. And they developed that referral packet because there was only a handful of providers using that HMIS, Homeless Management Information System. And they wanted to have better community data, as well as to be able to engage their partners without having to put the burden on partners who cannot participate in that system. The city of Lebanon connected 53 people to services and support, achieving 177% of the goal by day 50. Additionally, they helped 15 households retain housing, thus preventing homelessness. They also are working on, they were working on this before we started working with them, but I think it's really cool. So I'm going to share it, is they wanted to expand some of their emergency shelter. And so they're working on piloting like sleeper trailers that can be moved similar to, I believe, what they use for emergency when there's a fire or they need to bring in additional people into the community. So they're working on piloting that, as well as working on a plan to develop more property. That is a brief overview of their goals, their progress, and how some of that tied into their strategic plans and things they were already working on. They were just able to jumpstart it using the 100-day challenge.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Are any questions? Anybody? All right, well, I presume you guys have contact information, and yeah, I think there's, this looks like a great possibility.
Mainly today I'd asked them to be here to, I don't know if it needs to be a formal vote or not, but it's okay for us to work with them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see there's, yeah. I mean, it's a funded thing. It can help give you some touch points maybe with providers. So yeah, great.
Is there public comment on this agenda item?
There's public comment right before the director's report.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay. All right.
Excellent.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much. We will.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, have a great rest of the meeting. Take care.
All right, so that brings us to public comments. Well, I think we're the only public in attendance, yes.
Was there anybody online for public comment, or?
Well, I guess we should ask that.
Yeah.
Once you get it.
Is it, do you see if there's anybody, if there's nobody online?
Yeah. In 3 minutes.
Yes. Nash just about the time, so yes, Chris.
First suggestion would be is that paper necessary, it's just a waste for me to sign it when I come in and waste a piece of paper. I'm very discouraged that there was no public comment allowed for these agenda items. I mean, I'm trying to be involved and educated, and I come in here to the meeting and I learn when I attend, and I have more questions than when I enter with. So I might have a 3-minute public comment prepared that I thought of before the meeting, but now that I'm in here, I have a lot of questions, a lot of concerns, and I was not able to address those at the appropriate time. I feel like this is not the appropriate time because it eats away at something I might have already had to say. And I don't have the people from the last agenda item or the one before it, except for Scott, here to address any concerns. But it's also just 3 minutes, and I understand it's not a back and forth. The last meeting was educational. There was some back and forth. Some of it was more talking than educational, which is annoying, but I don't know. I don't know where to go from here. This is disappointing. I appreciate Scott and the work he does from what I can see. Him and people like the Gospel Mission and Salvation Army seem to be good stewards of the tax dollars that are given to them, and they do what they say. However, I think there needs to be oversight over these things. And the agenda item at the Coos Bay City Council meeting last night for half of the grant that was approved today, or they're 2 separate grants, but the agenda item read, consideration to approve administrative and financial facilitation of special purpose appropriation funding under SB 5506 to a normal citizen. That means nothing. And I have no way to discern what the hell that means to even be educated to know that that's coming up at the meeting. Then when I'm there, I learned about Scott's program, which I support in general. I have questions though, and I was not able to answer them. I went to the mayor's meeting today, just before this one, I mentioned that I had questions on this topic. I was told that this meeting would be to approve that agenda item, which it wasn't. It was to approve a new agenda item for a second grant. And I was also not able to ask questions about that. That's less than 24 hours from start to finish, unless I missed something. From a public being aware of this to it being finalized. Again, unless I'm wrong, but I don't really have any time. I have 3 seconds for clarification. You want me to just stop?
So
Can I
let me,
continue?
can I ask a question?
Yes,
What
ma'am.
is the, because thank you, but I really appreciate running, I mean, this is our business meeting, running our business meeting, having time for the public comment. But what is the best mechanism you think for people who have public comment to dig in a bit further? Like, I get it, and I'm the one who, and Councilman knows, like, I like a public comment in 3 minutes, and that's during our business meeting. At the city council level, we have our work sessions where we dig in a little bit further, and that's a better time. It's a little bit where you can have a little bit deeper conversations. Would the best and I know this isn't the time for us to necessarily engage with people who are giving public comment, but to answer that, would it be to contact the office and to have these deeper conversations and dig into some of the specifics with our lead in the program? Like, what is the best way to answer that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that works across the board with any governmental entity. I mean, you can learn the most from the folks who are doing the work, and that's usually the staff members, so,
But
you know.
this is, I'm trying to be respectful. This is now after the fact. He's now given authority to spend $25,000 a month, I believe, without oversight. I think he's a good steward.
So we do have
But-
oversight, you're misjudging that, and
Public-
again, I don't wanna have this
Citizen-
conversation,
right.
back and
Citizen
forth.
oversight is what.
Those are, yeah.
So like, should we have them send in those questions for like the next meeting to discuss, like, for clarification on the agenda item? I'm just trying to figure out like how we can be efficient, so like still run the business meeting, but to like get those questions answered, or have them say, if you have follow-up questions today, work with the team, the office response and or the people that where the grants money was awarded to.
Chris, I'd like to suggest that you just come out, I'll show you what I'm up to, and that would help make sense. And while we're doing that, I'll explain to you how it got so far down the road, because it's really started, God knows how long ago, 6 months to a year ago. Through House bills that started, then rolled out other agencies, rolled back into our local community, got written up through multiple entities here. So it has been a huge process to get there, but I have nothing to hide. I would love to just sit down and talk with you and show you.
And I didn't mean to derail
No,
your agenda item there,
No.
now we're off on another agenda item, but
Because I could really, this was very confusing when I started this.
Your version of 10 seconds or my version?
yeah,
of 10 seconds?
10 seconds on the timer there.
I'm honestly trying to be helpful. The last blow up about this even specific House bill grant about the Deborah Center was that it was shady and hidden from public view and not given public oversight. And this new implementation of it was given even less. 0 public interest and oversight and knowledge. I'll stop.
Thank you. Okay, we will move on to the director's report.
All right. Due to time, I will try to plug away on this. So, and I have an extended Austin Director's report from our trip if you're interested from the University of Chicago College. First off, thank you for this opportunity. I want to thank AYA, especially with Scott Cooper and his work. Alternative Youth Activities has procured and renovated properties, signed block leases, subleased to formerly unhoused people we are requesting, which was accomplished today. A little bit what's going on and some of the background from the director's report of the securing of the verbiage. The South Coast has a vacancy of 1%, meaning there are a few opportunities. So AYA has shown the support of that. I think Ashley gave me the wrong side of the paper, but with your permission, I'd like to go move forward with what we did on Monday.
Sure.
Additionally, the team had the amazing opportunity to attend the HB4123 Summit on Rural Homelessness this past Monday. The goal of the summit was to learn from each of the HB4123 pilots through sharing and collaborations. This was a great opportunity to share successes as well as the barriers as we have faced here in Coos County and learn network and for those who had similar experiences in communities. We have made several connections within the HB4123 pilot network that we believe will help us move forward to our work in a more streamlined and efficient way moving forward. The first half of the day was spent hearing from each of the pilots. Several of the pilots included Deschutes County, which have run into issues with red tape and the availability of shelter placements. They've had to work closely with their city and county to establish site sheltering. We also heard from Rod Cross, the mayor of Toledo, which he brings back to Coos County to our mayor in Coos Bay. He used to be a resident in the 90s here and a very great guy. And Councilor Farmer had great conversations with him as well. He was representing Lincoln County, who indicated, much like us, they have a higher population of houselessness residents during the summer months, increasing their base pit count numbers from the hundreds of nearly 3,500 people. They are also seeing a lot more houseless individuals who fit into the aging category, which he really talked to. Sometimes sheltering people who are in their 80s and even 90s. I don't know if we've seen that yet in Coos County, but we could in the future. Mid-Columbia had been doing some amazing work with some time of the project turnkey funding, which allowed them to rehab a small hotel in a transitional living space. We got to know about the project and see what they went through. Yes, they had issues in the beginning with the public, but they showed examples how to get through that and work and collaborate with their community. And we're going to continue to work with them. We will be connecting with them to talk more about how they've gotten done, what they've done. Our host of the summit was Polk County, which has been able to leverage funding from multiple sources and agencies and set up an incredible resource center that houses multiple providers, including those services, a sort of one-stop shop. We also made a good connection with a coordinated entry expert who's putting us in touch with a software developer at this time as well, who designed a piece of software for them. They were able to coordinate services across multiple agencies. Finally, OHCS was in attendance. They present towards the end of the day to discuss the future of the homeless response office model. OHCS now sees that in this way of doing things is working and well at the potential of continuing the pilot program. In addition, OHCS will be utilizing some of the pilots to do some storytelling videos to show some of the success stories coming out of these programs and to tell the real story of homelessness. In other words, another things that had touched my heart was to look at other ideas, like maybe looking at different stakeholders of who are our those that are producing rentals, like who are they? Can we meet with them to work with them? We potentially could be in inflation, you know, and people could be struggling. Maybe we can save those people before they end up on the streets and work with those people. Another thing is I like to see us work with our banks and financial services as well to see how they want to support. I know for sure there's one bank in North Bend that has been a huge supporter of helping those with homeless veterans, you know, and they might be able to help us as well. And there's some classes coming up here soon regarding poverty, of how to establish people, maybe help people how to budget better a little bit, you know, once things, you know, with prices going up and everything, giving those providers opportunities so we don't have homeless people as well. We've continued to have our provider meetings and they've been very successful. We've been working with DHS programs as well. Some of the things that got brought up was, we would love to see like a big brother sister program. Those are some ideas that people have brought up. A lot of people with the work that Scott's doing, they would love to see more of that. And then also almost like the same model if we were gonna Bologna Ranch program. So we can continue to collaborate with that, which Scott's already doing. So some of the things that came up with ideas is different resources for helping people out regarding in their situations, say if they're a single mom or single dad, to actually help provide services. It's an agency that's been working in Coos County. They met with our faith base and our primary care and also with our tribes and veterans services as well. Tomorrow in our providers meeting with our veterans and tribal and city governments, we're going to continue the talks of the possibilities of helping funding with OCHS. They have a possible grant funding that could help out with those kids that are currently homeless right now or about to be homeless. It'd be funding. It's not a lot, and we maybe be able to get a portion of it, but we've been in continued talks this past month with Scott Cooper and a lot of the Coos Bay and Coos County school districts regarding ideas to help bring to the table what we're going through with Coos County was homelessness. Can you touch a little bit on that, Scott?
Yeah, so that's under a little bit different definition. That's the McKinney-Mitchell definition of homelessness, which means doubled up. Those are the numbers that you're hearing, 400 out of the 2 school districts. Melinda is the McKinney-Mitchell specialist for our area. They want to reach into schools and try to, we're not exactly sure what they want to try to do, but I think one of the goals might be to shore them up before they become homeless. So to try to prevent it. It's really, they're going to choose, I think, 6 areas in the state.
Yes.
And I think we're towards the top of the list on that because of our high percentages, which is community collaboration. We were able to get into the schools and actually identify those youth, get them into the HMIS system, which later kicks them out because it doesn't fit their definition. And then it may be an opportunity that came out.
And so it was thought about that we should share this with our provider groups that we have currently right now. Successfully, it's going well. And then later on, we'll be talking with faith base. It's nice to hear a different perspective in their eyes. A lot of people says, well, where's Scott? Well, Scott's answered it, but we want to hear from you. And so we can share this information with Scott as well. You know what I mean? And so we have the providers there, and then we have our veterans, like I said, and our tribal identities and our city governments tomorrow, including with our faith base. So that's kind of like we've been attending meetings, moving forward. Ashley and the team have done an excellent job, especially getting ready for HMIS. Ashley had a huge training today. Eric has been busting his butt as well of getting things done, accomplished with Scott. And I am so proud of my team and the hard work that will continue to move forward. And so that's what I have. Sorry for the long version of that, but yeah.
Any board comments? Counselor Kilmer, if you're online, might be easiest to start with you. Do you have any comments?
Sure, I just have a couple great presentations, and I apologize for being late. But for a couple of questions that were placed under the public comment, if you want information on the Senate or House bills, an easy Google search will bring up that item, and then all of the information is listed there. And the other comment that I would make is that I just think that it would be impossible for an agency or a municipality to go to the public on every single grant that comes into the particular organization. That's why people elect representatives to represent the community, to understand the problems that we have and try to work on solutions to fix them. and we do try to have public comments, but just like the public, we also have to do that research in advance. So those are the only comments that I have.
Thank you. Mary Lou?
I guess maybe to like kind of tag on that, our agendas are online. You have a social media page and
And a
a
website.
website, and it's posted, and I think that those are great places to get information. And then I'm guessing that your office is very welcoming and open to discussing anything in further detail, including the project. So, you know, just as kind of reiterate, I do appreciate the efficiency of this meeting. I know the rest of us, we all have other full-time jobs, so like these are our business meetings, but that doesn't mean that the other parts of the group, or if there are members that can spend, you know, I've got another 3 o'clock that I have to head to, but maybe some of the other committee members, if we're not a quorum, can engage in those conversations if somebody continues to have questions, as long as we don't violate quorum. So I just want to put that out there. I don't see any of this as not being transparent or rushing things through. This information is out there and there are people willing to discuss that. This is just the business portion of it all. So there's the time and the place for the engagement and the public comment. I appreciate Scott Cooper's work that you're doing, and we also got a lengthy presentation at our previous meeting about these projects. So this wasn't the first time that we're hearing about that tonight. So I'm really excited to see what you're doing with the work. I agree, you are good stewards of the money, and it's a really good model. And I will just quickly also mention, it was very fitting that you said Big Brothers Big Sisters in your report. I had taken my students on a field trip and we had met with the CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters. I always try to show them like corporate America and nonprofits. And in that meeting, the CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters in Portland was talking about like the dollar amount that you can attach to basically a child if they do not graduate, which often the young people who start to become part of the program, it's because there's that danger of not graduating. And they're like the numbers, and I'll probably get them a little bit wrong, but let's say it was around, if they don't graduate high school, they end up costing the system or taxpayers $400,000. Where, and this is sort of like the plug of like why it's important to have sponsors in Big Brothers Big Sisters, is that the Big Brothers Big Sisters, maybe the donation that they seek is, $4,000 a kid. And if they can get people to invest in that $4,000 a child, that it could save the taxpayers $400,000 later on issues with police, issues with, living off of, different social services system. And so when I look at like the work that you're doing, I'm sure you have those statistics as well, right? That there's this investment of helping secure housing, learning a trade, having those wraparound system that some of the other maybe nonprofits that are trying to do good work but are missing those services. You've got a really good model here, and I am happy to support that. So I just, I don't want you to think that I don't for a second. Anyways, I support it. So that is my soapbox. And yeah, like explore Big Brothers Big Sisters in the community and where we're at in Oregon, because those are huge eye-opening numbers about investing in people now to help them live a better contributing life.
Just to bounce off that one, there is some university that has a social impact calculator that you can put in all the different things that you do. When we spit it in there, I would take whatever number they came back to us and probably divide it in half and let's think that we're doing $20 million a year worth of work. But it was interesting, and I would love to dig down to see how that calculator works. It asks you like how many students are you serving, how many are graduating, how many people are you feeding. When we feed that in, it was like we're doing $20 million a year.
Yeah.
Is this a time for back and forth?
Are we,
What would
you're
you
good,
like to add?
is there any more comments?
Just that.
Yeah, thank you.
I think so.
No more comments?
No.
Okay, all right, so nothing else?
Nope.
We adjourned. Okay.
Cool.
Thank you, Jessica.
Yeah.
Scott,